Functions are used similar to loops in that they both perform frequently used tasks. It also allows you to create your code in sort of a modular format so that functions have their own blocks of code. And this makes it easier to read the code, to troubleshoot the code, and maintain it. So for example, if you are creating your code in a modular format, then you can create that module or function block, and then you can test it to make sure it works, and then go on to the rest of your programming. So you can test it in blocks. So that makes it a little bit easier to read, troubleshoot, and maintain. So the function has several different parts to it. You have to define the function, and then unlike your loops where you have a condition that needs to be met before it will enter the loop, you have to call a function. So the function can be called from anywhere in the program. The function needs to be defined before it is called in the program. So a lot of times your functions are defined at the top of the program. Then the DEF is the keyword that's used to create new functions. In this example, you have a function that is called def to define it, and then it's called calc pizza area. So this is going to be a function to calculate the area of a pizza. And then you have your assigned variables, for example, the pi value and some calculations. Notice that the lines underneath the definition are indented about 4 spaces. So those have to be indented so that Python knows that this is the function block, and when you get to the return line at the end, that's the end of the function block. Notice at the end, after it calculates the pizza area, it will return the value that it has calculated. Okay, so we'll get to that in just a second. Then we have our print function, which will look at 12-inch pizza. So we've got the diameter of the pizza here is 12 inches. So it will say if the 12-inch pizza is, and then here is where it actually calls the function for the calc pizza area. And then it will say in squared inches. Okay, so you can see the output here. Now, how does this work as the program is executed? So let's look at that. That's what's mostly important here. When you get into a function that's defined, it doesn't run this code until that function is called. So you'll go down to this line, and it will execute this line basically first, and it will look at this information, and then it gets here and says, oh, this is a function that is being called. So all you're doing is typing the function name and empty parentheses in this case. Okay, so when it gets to this point, it's going to say, okay, here's the function. It's going to go up to this function, and then it will execute each line in this function. When it gets to the return, it's going to take the amount of the pizza area, and it's going to return that value here to where it was called. And then it will print the rest of the line. So in this case, it's only executing the code in the function when it is called. Some functions can have what we call parameters and arguments. When you set up the function, you may want to pass values to that function and out of the function, for example, with the return statement. So let's look at this example. It's to calculate the area of a pizza. So for example, here we've got a 12-inch pizza, and we're going to calculate the area of that as well as a 16-inch pizza. So what this program will do is import the math module because we need it to use the pi function. We're setting up the calculate pizza area function, and here we have what we call a parameter. It's a variable name called pizza diameter, and then it will calculate the pizza area and return that amount. The first line that will be executed here, once it gets beyond the function, is to print a line that says a 12-inch pizza is, and then it's going to call that function, and here is the argument that will be passed to the function. So you've got the function name, calc pizza area, and in the parentheses you're going to put the value that you want to pass to the function. So since this is for a 12-inch pizza, we've got 12.0 here. I'm going to pass that to the function, and it will go in and calculate based on the pizza area, pizza diameter being 12. So it will pass that value here to the function, and it will calculate the pizza diameter here divided by 2 and complete the calculation and return that value back to the function here, and it will print that information. Then here for the 16-inch pizza, it's going to pass 16 to that function and calculate the pizza diameter with 16. It will return the total area of the pizza so that it can be printed. So you can see here what the output would be after this program has completed execution. And lastly, some functions can have calls to other functions within those. And the important thing to remember here is once it completes the function, it's going to go back to the line where it's called and then complete the execution of the rest of the code in that order. So they also call these hierarchical or nested functions because you have a function call within a function. So if you see here, again, we're calculating the calories for the pizza, and we have a function for calculating the circle area and a function to calculate the calories. And here, when you print those lines, it's going to say it's 12-inch or 14-inch pizza. It's going to call that function and pass that value to it. So here it's calling pizza calories. It's going to go to this function, pass that 12 value to the function. It's going to calculate the calories per square inch. And here in calculating the total calories, you can see that it's calling the function here, and it's going to pass that value to the calc circle area. So then it can be calculated as the circle area. So once it completes this function, it was called here, so it will pass the values back and return the total calories here to where it was first called. So you're jumping back and forth, and just remember that when you complete a function, it goes back to where it was called and then continues the execution of code after that.